Texas football is on a bye this week, but all eyes are already on matchups ahead as Texas has a pivotal stretch to close out the season following that Vanderbilt win. Meanwhile, Texas Volleyball kept things rolling after 2 losses in a row, taking down Florida and extending their win streak. In basketball, both men's and women's teams return after opening week action. We'll break down what we learned and what's next as non-conference play continues. Around the NHL, we'll be taking a look at what's going on in the league as play heats up early in the season. Good evening and welcome back to College Press Box. I'm Hallie Diamant, hosting with Bradston Swick tonight. Before we get started, we want to remind you that College Press Box is brought to you by Cat Metro, Austin's transit system. We connect you to work, school, play, and everywhere in between. Plan your ride to this weekend's game at catmetro.org. Texas football is on a bye this week, but last week, Texas had a 34-31 win over Vanderbilt. Kendell and I covered the game, which came down to the final few minutes. Let's take a look.
Texas football losing to Florida earlier in the month and having 2 back-to-back wins in overtime on the road left many questioning the football team's capabilities. However, the Longhorns faced another test today against Vanderbilt and they came out on top. Arch Manning and the offense seemed to get a rhythm from the start, and the Longhorns proved they are a team that's not done quite yet. Despite spending the week in concussion protocol, Manning showed no signs of struggle, going 25 for 33 with 328 yards and 3 touchdowns. He looked sharper and more confident in the pocket, showing real improvement in his accuracy and a new sense of confidence in the pass protection. The offensive line had its best performance of the season, giving Manning plenty of time to throw, allowing 0 sacks and helping the run game. Running back Trevion Wisner led the team in rushing with 18 carries for 75 yards. Defensively, Texas was just as dominant, sacking Vanderbilt's quarterback Diego Pavia 6 times, and edge rusher Ethan Burke came out strong, leading the team with 2 sacks. And while the fourth quarter didn't go quite as planned, with penalties and mistakes slowing things down, head coach Steve Sarkisian says he's confident in his team's abilities coming at just the right time.
I just think there's a level of maturity that our players have in going into games like this, and especially in November, that you gotta have. You know, as I told the team, the games in November are the ones they remember, and that's when we need to be at our best. And I think we're growing and getting better as a team. Now, there's still room for improvement, which we need to get fixed as a staff. I was very proud of them today. You know, they came ready to play.
Texas will use this bye as a way to rest up and prepare for the next 3 games of November, because as in this conference, every game is a must-win from here on out. Reporting from DKR Stadium, I'm Kendell Ungar, TSTV Sports.
Texas football came out swinging in the first half in a must-win game against a ranked Vanderbilt team. Texas dominated as soon as the first play on offense. That wasn't enough because in the fourth quarter, Diego Pavia started to close the gap. Unfortunately, the Longhorns came out on top, 34-31. From the moment the ball was kicked off, Texas Longhorns' offense flat out asserted itself. Arch Manning completed 25 of 33 passes for 328 yards and threw 3 touchdowns, showing precision and poise after being in concussion protocol this past week. Ryan Wingo ripped off a 75-yard strike on the very first play. Trevion Wisner turned out 75 yards and a touchdown on 18 carries, keeping the Commodores off balance. Other touchdowns were scored by C.J. Baxter and receiver Emmett Mosley. The offensive line gave Manning time, something that this team has struggled with in the past. Texas converted early and often, sustaining drive after drive before Vanderbilt even loosened up. The result, 428 total yards compared to 423 for Vanderbilt, and no turnovers to speak of. If the offense set the tone, Texas's defense slammed the door. The Longhorns limited Vanderbilt to just 58 rushing yards. There were a total of 6 sacks made by the defense. Ethan Burke with 2, and then there was 1 from Colin Simmons, Anthony Hill Jr., Trey Moore, and Brad Spence. They were able to stop the run and force Vanderbilt quarterback Diego Pavia to throw out of bounds. In the fourth quarter, Vanderbilt did stir up a bit of life, cutting the lead with a quarterback scramble and some speedy plays that narrowed the gap. Still, Texas regained composure quickly and shut down the comeback kid with a 34-31 end result. After the game, Coach Sarkisian reflected on how the team has been able to weather the storm as they have been through many ups and downs this season.
I just think there's a level of maturity that our players have in going into games like this, and especially in November, that you got to have. You know, as I told the team, the games in November are the ones they remember.
The upcoming bye week gives Texas time to prepare as they control their own destiny into the postseason. Reporting from DKR Stadium, I'm Hallie Diamant, TSTV Sports. What an incredible time it was to report on the game, and great work, Kendell. After 2 straight losses, Texas Volleyball is back on their feet. Here to talk more about it is Bradston and Kate. Bradston?
Thanks, Hallie. I'm here with Kate Aidan to talk about Texas Volleyball after the Longhorns were just handed their first 2 losses of the season. Welcome to the show, Kate. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Bradston, with Texas Volleyball getting that win after sad loss to A&M and Kentucky.
Yes, this was definitely a must-win for Texas, but what adjustments did the volleyball team make from the loss against A&M and Kentucky to win this game against Florida?
Texas made the adjustments on the offensive side of the ball, wanting to find that rhythm after they previously had lost it out of nowhere. But they are piecing that rhythm back together slowly after winning this game. Tori Stafford reached 21 kills this game, her 5th time reaching over 20 kills per game this season. Another player who stepped up this game was senior Whitney Lorstein, who came from Nebraska to Texas this year and has struggled to find her footing this year against Florida. But against Florida, the Longhorns had a best with 6 kills and 0 errors to help this team beat Florida in the 4 sets.
And Texas got the win in Gainesville, and now they only have 2 more games until SEC tournament play. So who is up against the Longhorns, and will they get to win?
Yes, the Longhorns only have 2 more games until they start the SEC tournament. They play Auburn tomorrow in Alabama, then they come home to Gregory Gym this coming Sunday to play South Carolina for the final regular season game. Texas Volleyball will easily dominate both these teams after Auburn's crucial middle blocker, Emma Moore, got an end-of-a-season injury. Auburn hasn't been able to fill the gap she left as a leader on and off the court. Texas hitters such as Tori Stafford should profit off of Auburn's weak offensive. On the other hand, the Gamecocks can never find their footing this year as a team. They struggle with service errors and not having preseason competition to make them prepared for SEC play. Head coach Jared Elliott commented on his team that they lost their rhythm and they must find it before the end of the season. Therefore, these 2 games should be good games for the Longhorns to get their win and build their confidence before SEC play.
Yes, the end of the regular season should be good for Texas, but now all eyes are on the SEC tournament. In your opinion, who should Texas be worried about the most, and how will they combat that team?
Texas' biggest competition in the SEC tournament will no doubtably be Kentucky, a team that just swept the Longhorns. With Texas most likely being the 2nd seed, they'll have 2 bye games until they play and will most likely meet Kentucky in the semifinals or the championship. To have a winning outcome against Kentucky, the team must find its success in blocking at the net. Over the season, they've been outblocked by almost every team they play. And we all know that Kentucky is a strong offensive team, having some of the best attackers in the league. Texas has been offensively strong all season with their winning record, but they need to be strong on the defensive side of the net. The Longhorns can figure out how to play an offensive game against Kentucky in the SEC tournament. Texas could have a better shot at beating them.
Thanks again, Kate, for joining us. Let's send it back to Hallie at the desk.
Solid work, Kate and Bradston. When College Press Box returns, we'll be taking a look into how the start of the season is going for men's and women's basketball. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
Welcome back to College Press Box. Texas basketball is off to a strong start this season. The women's teams find themselves a strong 85-56 win over number 24 Richmond, while the men's team had a dominant performance against Lafayette after their season opener against Duke. Our very own Nolan, Clay, and Aidan Urbach were at this game. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
This afternoon, Texas got its first win of the Sean Miller era, and more importantly, it got back to its high-pace, high-scoring DNA, scoring 97 points against Lafayette. On the starting lineup, Tremont Mark had 16 points compared to his 2 points against the Duke Blue Devils, getting back to his aggressive nature. Then they had Matas Vokatitis dominating down low with 14 points, 7 of 9 from the field, and then Dalen Swain with 10 points, continuing his 3-point success. Off the bench, they had Energizer Bunny, Kendell Weaver with 15 points, and Simeon Wilcher with 12 points, 9 of them coming from 3-pointers. It's just one game, but it's a huge step in the right direction for the Longhorns.
When you can have 21 assists on 33 made field goals, I think that shows that we played together. We had 6 players in double figures, and we also had only 9 turnovers. So if you think about our first performance against Duke, we had only 6 assists and 16 turnovers. That was a big reason why the game got away from us in the second half. You know, the pace comes in a lot of forms. One, it's a commitment to running, playing fast. That doesn't mean shooting quick, but it means that the ball and the players get up and down the court, and there's an energy to that. We can certainly get better, and I think the more you watch us, the more you'll see the fluidity become more a part of how we play the game in terms of the pace of play. When you watch us, I don't think we're reliant on one player. On given nights, we'll have different players who could lead us in scoring. The fact we had 6 in double figures here tonight was great, but my hope is that we have a lot of games this season where we have, several players in double figures. A balanced scoring attack is something that we're developing, and I think that is the upside of our roster and our team.
Game, set, and match as the Texas Longhorns trample all over the Lafayette Leopards tonight, marking their first win of the season and their first under head coach Sean Miller's tenure.
From opening tip to a fun and groovy 2010s pop song, Saturday's game proved to be an obliteration, and that might be even a soft and subtle understatement. Texas was nearly perfect on all sides of the floor, from forcing morale-killer air balls to showing dominance inside the paint. The Longhorns were in fact impenetrable, a contradiction that was written in the team's stagnant performance in their season opener against Duke. When asked about his team's performance in the post-game press conference, head coach Sean Miller was elated about the team's performance, particularly harping on the importance of overall team contribution, saying it wasn't just one guy doing the dirty work for us, but everyone as a whole was making an impact. And that stat speaks for itself. Texas had 6 players in double figures, combining for 21 assists off 33 field goals, which is 9 turnovers and a staggering 42 points in the paint. In terms of pace, Coach Miller thought that the team was, quote, better in that area, a nod to the team's 20 fast break points, a headline that was virtually non-existent on opening night. Moreover, Texas bench proved to be a dominant force to be reckoned with, supplying the team with 42 total points. Senior guard Kendell halting the game with 15, and junior transfer Simeon Wiltshire with 12. In addition to the Horns' impressive rallying cry, the game did in fact showcase some rather heartfelt moments, such as freshman Anton McDermott recording his first basket with a corner 3 shot, finishing the game with 6 points. In the end, Texas kept their home opening win streak to 24. They look to continue to build off this momentum Wednesday night in the Moody Center against the 0-2 Fairleigh Dickinson Knights, 7 p.m. tip-off. Live inside the now quiet and robust Moody Center, I'm Aidan Urbach of TSTV Sports. Back to you.
Great work, Nolan and Aidan. Now let's go to Hallie, who's with Aidan to take a closer look at these teams.
Thanks, Bradston. I'm here with Aidan Urbach to talk more about these Texas teams. Great coverage at Saturday's game, Aidan, and welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you, Hallie, and great to be here. Just glad that the Longhorns record wins in both men and women's programs, propelling me to not spam boisterous and pessimistic rants about UT athletics to the network's GroupMe page. For the first time, I'm so very proud of that, and let's talk some hoops.
I love to hear your strong milestones in the network's GroupMe. Now let's turn to hoops, specifically on the men's side. Aidan, Texas responded vigorously after the tough loss to Duke during the season opener, with dominant showing against Lafayette. So Aidan, what stood out to you the most regarding the Longhorns' ability to control the tempo and execute offensively in their home opener?
Well, Hallie, Texas completely flipped the script from Duke, a game a week ago, by controlling the pace from the opening tip-off and onward. A glaring point of emphasis, team head coach Sean Miller stressed all week before the game. The Longhorns were able to put this point into fruition as they pushed the ball into transition far more aggressively and thoroughly than they did against Duke, with 20 fast break points compared to the team's 6 last Tuesday. I had the chance to speak to Coach Miller about the Blue Devils' handling against the squad, and he pretty much gave me testament to Duke's emphatic defense, particularly harping on their length and size at the point guard position, stating, quote, "I don't care what team plays against them, they make the game so difficult to score." So Saturday really marked a turning point for this new and improved Longhorns team. The Horns had 6 figures and double figures, indicating the rather versatile nature of this team, illustrating they can beat you around the glass with the 3 or in the half court. The team also showcased the level of depth across positions, with 40 of the team's total points coming off the bench. I think Miller's emphasis on, quote, togetherness is something we as viewers need to look out for as the season progresses. Player-wise, Dalen Swain, the transfer guard from Miller for Xavier that Miller recruited in the portal last season, had a stellar game all around, posting 10 points, 9 rebounds off 6 assists, which is pretty great given that he's 6'8". With that, the team also shot an above 52% from the field and 39% from downtown. Keep in mind they shot 21% from 3 a week ago. Hallie, it was this kind of bounce back showing that fills the locker room and shows fans the true version of this team.
Well said, Aidan. I love how you relayed the message of, quote, togetherness that Miller is trying to instill in this team. Last year, you can make the argument that UT was primarily grounded on Trey Johnson and Arthur Kaluma doing all the work offensively for the Horns. It will be interesting to note if we will see a different kind of all-round performance from the team as they play against Fairleigh Dickinson Wednesday night. You mentioned earlier that Texas saw 6 players reaching double figures and the bench amassing over 40 points in Saturday's win against Lafayette. What does this level of offensive balance reveal about the Longhorns' identity, and how does it set expectations as they get ready for Maui and SEC play in early January?
Well, Hallie, Texas's offense balanced with the defining storyline of the home opener. As I mentioned before, and as you relayed, 6 players garnered double figures, double what they had against Duke. The bench led by Kendell Weaver had over 40, signaling a comparable roster that can punish opponents across all facets. This kind of roaring depth not only takes the pressure away from starters like Dalen Swain, but allows Miller to tailor rotations based on matchups, an essential tool when late November matchups arrive, such as the Maui Invitational, as you pointed out, and the tournament starting to commence furthermore. As Texas transitions into non-conference games like playing against Arizona State in late November, led by esteemed head coach Bobby Hurley, who played at Duke, won a couple national championships in the 90s, the scoring distribution that we are currently seeing, as we mentioned in the Lafayette game, from the Horns won't be totally reliant on one player or 2 scorers like Trey Johnson or Arthur Kaluma, which what we saw last season, but rather a squad capable of delivering 75 to 85 points consistently, and this versatility and expansion becomes a matchup nightmare for SEC defenses who thrive on honing in one star. Texas is proving, Haley, that doesn't have just one.
Great work, Aidan. I love how you attributed SEC's style of really neutralizing one key player in contention with UT's current style of offense. I think we saw this most clearly when South Carolina played Auburn last season. Gamecocks were so effective in defending against prolific center Janai Broome that he totaled a mere 6 points on 3 for 11 shooting. So interesting to keep an eye on for the Horns come January. Now moving on to the women's side, the Texas Longhorns women's team up their 123-51 performance against Incarnate Word with a cruising 85-56 victory over number 24 Richmond. So Aidan, what are these contrasting performances? Tell us about the team's depth, execution, and readiness for a non-conference schedule ahead.
Let me first start off by pan the camera at me, I'm talking to UT students. If you're a UT student walloping in your room, tired of binge watching the last season of Game of Thrones for the 4th time in a row, come out to the Moody Center and watch UT's women's team play, because Rory Harmon and Madison Booker will bring you a better show than what you're currently watching. Texas opened up a sublime statement to the nation, scoring 123 points against Incarnate Word, while shooting a stellar 65% from field and 41% from 3, with 6 of their players landing in double figures. Then, when tested against a proper ranked opponent like Richmond, the Longhorns with poise and confidence shot 54%, overall, mitigating the turnovers and riding high on a dominant performance from two-time All-American Madison Booker. And Hallie, excuse me, I don't think dominant is the proper word to describe her showing. It was commanding. To describe her showing, it was a junior forward recording 22 points, grabbed 12 boards, and had 6 steals off 2 blocks, which I don't even know that's possible given that she's a forward. And are you kidding me? Looking at those 2 games, it's safe to say that the depth is a major factor that makes UT such a domineering force. A wide variety of freshman underclass players stepped up in both games, including Aaliyah Crump and Jordan Lee, freeing up the veteran core led by Rory Harmon, the school's all-time record holder in points. As they head into stifling competition where they'll take on third-ranked UCLA later this month, that mix of dominant blowout capability that was orchestrated in these 2 games bodes a farewell for their chances of staying atop of this conversation.
And that'll do it for here. Thank you so much for joining us again, Aidan. Back to you, Bradston.
Thank you, Aidan and Hallie. When College Press Box returns, we'll be taking a deep dive into the NHL for the first time this semester. You won't want to miss it.
Welcome back to College Press Box. We are through 5 weeks of the NHL season, and there's been a lot of action so far, and some interesting storylines to talk about. Let's break it all down with Bradston and Colin.
Thanks, Hallie. I'm here with Colin Flickinger. How's it going, Colin?
Pretty good, Braxton. How about you?
Good. It's been great. We are now about 1/5 of the way through the NHL regular season, meaning the good teams have started to separate themselves from the rest of the field. So, Colin, which teams have showed themselves to be at a level above the rest so far?
Well, so far in the West, the Colorado Avalanche have proven themselves to be a force to be reckoned with, leading the entire NHL in points percentage, second in goals for and second in goals against per game. Captain Nate McKinnon leads all skaters in the NHL in goals and points by a considerable margin. Defenseman Cale Makar also leads defenders in goals and assists, combining for 22 total points. On top of that, they have elite scoring and one of the best penalty kills in the NHL, third in penalty kill percentage. Their Achilles heel, if you can even call that, is that they have bang average goaltending. Goaltender Scott Wedgwood has only a .906 save percentage and a negative goals save above expected, 17th among senders with 6 or more starts. The battle in the East, on the other hand, has been a lot more competitive, with the fight between New Jersey, Carolina, and Montreal for the top spot tied through 15 games. I want to focus, though, on the Montreal Canadiens, who have turned a lot of heads so far. After a 5-game first-round exit last year, the Habs have looked scary through 5 weeks. Montreal is the youngest team in the NHL with an average age of 25.3 years. 2025 Calder Trophy winner Lane Hudson has maintained form, being one of the best defensemen in the NHL, third among points. Right winger Cole Caulfield is second in the NHL in goals with 12, and second-year goalie Jakob Dobbs has been outstanding with a .920 save percentage. The Habs also have had an amazing rookie pair of Ivan Demidov and Oliver Kapanen, who have been lights out this season, with Kapanen being second in goals scored among all rookies with 10, and Demidov being 13 points, leading all rookies in the NHL. Montreal leads the league as well in finishing with 11.1 goals above expected, and while there is still 5 months of hockey to play, anything can happen. But if the Canadiens keep up this pace, it is hard to see if there is a team that can stop them.
A new season brings new faces onto the ice and gives young stars the chance to steal the spotlight for themselves. So which of the NHL's next generations have been most impressive this year?
Well, as I just mentioned, the Canadiens obviously have that amazing rookie pair of Kapanen and Demidov lighting it up. But I want to focus on the last 3 number 1 overall picks in the last 3 NHL drafts. First of all, 2023 first overall pick, Connor Bedard, has been absolutely electric over the past couple of weeks. He is on a 9-game heater with points dating back to this October 26th, since the start of which he has netted 7 goals and 11 assists. He is now sitting second in the league in points with 25, tied with Leo Carlsson. And after a long offseason where people were questioning whether or not he would be able to break out with a lackluster supporting cast, Bedard has led the Blackhawks to a respectable 3rd place in the Central Division. The next year's first overall pick, Macklin Celebrini, has been very similar stats-wise to Bedard, with a league second best, or third best, 10 goals and 14 assists, putting him at 4th in points in the league. His numbers to this point in his career through 86 games put him along the likes of Sidney Crosby and Connor McDavid, but unlike Bedard, Celebrini San Jose Sharks are sitting outside of a playoff spot this season. There's a lot of debate right now between which of the two will have a better career, and while only time can tell, we can be certain that the future is bright in both San Jose and Chicago. It was a shock when the New York Islanders landed the 2025 first overall pick with the 10th best odds in the NHL, but who was selected was not surprising at all. Matthew Schaefer has been just as good as people were expecting him to be, being second among goals scored with rookies as a defenseman with 5 and 11 points respectively. On an Islanders team that has been absolutely marred with mediocrity over the past few years. He has been a shining bright spot in the team, leading the team on time on ice and tied for third in points.
And every year there is one or two teams that defy all expectations, good or bad, and surprise the hockey world. In your opinion, who has been that for the first few weeks of the season?
Well, for me, Bradston, the biggest surprise this year has been just how wrong the NHL media was about Sidney Crosby and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Before the season started, it felt like anywhere you looked, there would be someone talking about where the captain's Penguin should and would be traded. The common consensus was that the Penguins were not only failing to support Crosby, but would be a bottom feeder in the league, entered into the Gavin McKenna draft sweepstakes. Not only has that not happened, but the Penguins are off to their best start since the 2016-2017 Stanley Cup winning season and are currently sitting at 6th in the league after 17 games. Crosby has been absolutely phenomenal to start the season, being one of the league's top goal scorers at 38, but there's a lot more at play here. Before the season, the Penguins fired longtime head coach Mike Sullivan, who had led the team to back-to-back Stanley Cup finals at one point in his career, and hired Dan Muse from the New York Rangers. The Penguins' goaltending tandem has been absolutely incredible. They've been lights out, one of the best tandems in the league so far, with Tristan Jarry and Artur Silovs having 11.7 goals saved above expected. 11th overall pick Benjamin Kendell is now second place tied amongst goals for all rookies with 5 after being called one of the biggest reaches in the entire draft. He's now 4th in Calder odds. And 39-year-old Evgeny Malkin has been playing out of his mind, leading the league in assists thus far after many people were assuming that this year would be his last year before he retired. While trade talk has died down with Sidney Crosby, what remains to be seen is whether or not the Penguins can sustain the success. I think they can, but only if one of two things happen. The Penguins lead the league in power play success, but are well below average at even strength. The Penguins need to either continue to be one of the most dominant power play teams to ever grace the NHL, or they need to raise their 5v5 game. Both of them are doable, but the Penguins' 5v5 offense and defense are both lacking and need to be raised up. My prediction is that come the end of the season, the Penguins will end up in the top 3 of their division and make the playoffs after missing the playoffs for 3 years.
Well, thank you, Colin. Now back to you at the desk, Hallie.
Thanks, Colin and Bradston. When we return to College Press Box, we'll take a look at this past week in Longhorn sports and see what's ahead. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back.
Welcome back to College Press Box. Let's take a look at this past week in Longhorn sports. The first college football playoff rankings are out, and Texas debuted at number 11, landing just outside of the top 10, with key conference matchups still ahead against teams like Georgia and A&M. The Longhorns still have a chance to boost their standings if they can finish strong. The next set of college football rankings will be released later tonight.
Number 4, Texas Volleyball's Tori Stafford was named AVCA National Player of the Year semifinalist. She is one of 14 total semifinalists who were selected for the award. She leads the Longhorns with 316 kills and averages 4 per game. She also leads the team with 25 aces and has 187 total digs. Finals will be announced on December 14th, and the winner will be announced on December 19th.
Texas women's basketball guard Aaliyah Crump has been named to the Tamika Catching Awards watch list. This award is given each year to the best freshman in the nation. This recognition highlights her impact and leadership she has on the team.
Now, let's take a look at this week in Longhorn sports. Starting off on Wednesday, we have men's basketball home against Fairleigh Dickinson University at 7 p.m. on SEC Network. Saturday, we have the big game, Texas at Georgia, 6:30 p.m. on ABC. We also have men's basketball home against Kansas City at 12 p.m. on the SEC Network. Sunday, we have volleyball versus South Carolina at 1 p.m. on the SEC Network. And lastly, we have women's basketball home against Texas Southern at 4 p.m. on the SEC Network.
And that concludes this week's episode of College Press Box. Thank you for tuning in, and as always, please make sure to tune into our other sports shows this week, including College Crossfires on Wednesday airing at 9 p.m. and the 1-0 Sports Show on Fridays at 11 a.m. Also, we invite you to follow our coverage on Instagram, X, TikTok, and YouTube at the handle TSTV Sports. Thank you to our analysts, everyone in Master Control, our executive producer Kendell Ungar, and all of our reporters in TSTV Sports. I'm Bradston Swick. She's Hallie Diamant. Thank you for watching and have a good night.